And we're live.
All right.
Right. Okay. So you need to change the language there to Java if you haven't.
1 second.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And okay, how familiar are you with Java? Did you have any experience prior to classes or not really?
No. I
Okay.
only encountered it once I started to study here.
Okay. Did you have any other experiences with programming?
Actually, no. I've not had any experience.
Okay.
So I'm totally new.
Yeah, no worries. Do you understand what a class is?
I kind of, but I haven't really looked into it that much.
Okay. So think of it as like this big container that has specific things inside. So if I say I create a class called A and a class called B, they might have different things inside, but every instance of class A, you expect to have some specific things. Yeah?
Okay, yeah.
So if I create a method in main that is called, let's say, public void other, then I expect that my class called main will always have an other and that you can call it. Have you done in class that creating an object of your class, or have you not really?
Can you show an example of it? I'm not
Okay,
really
wait.
sure.
I'm gonna try also share my screen to you directly so you don't have to get a delay.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah. Okay. So normally, when we try to use our methods, we would do something like main object is a new main. Do you ever do that or not really, not yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Just so I have in mind where you are, which labs have you done so far?
I've done to lab 9.
Okay.
And then I only recently started to encounter method and stuff like that in assignment 1.
Okay.
That's where we started to use static void main. Public static void print menu and stuff. Change
Mm-hmm.
places, remove guest, and so on.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk a tiny bit about what static means first. Yeah?
All right, yeah.
Like, if I try to say, let's take this, say other, and then this is static other. What is the difference between these two? First of all, let's call them. So static other. Are you familiar with how to call on functions/methods?
I only recently started to encounter that.
Okay.
So I'm really new to it.
Okay, so anything inside a class needs to be some kind of variable, yes?
Yeah.
So what runs when you run a class?
Everything inside of it.
Not exactly. Everything inside its main. So whenever we try to run a specific class, remember when you bring up your PowerShell?
Yeah.
That you say like Java and the name of the class.
Oh, yes.
Then you're trying to run that class. When you try to run a class, its main method is run. nothing else.
Okay.
And then whatever you have inside that main method, which could be accessing other methods of the class, they run as well. But it needs to be inside the main, otherwise it will not run.
Okay, yeah, I see.
Okay, so next step. Static adder will work fine, but adder will not. You can see error, non-static method adder cannot be referenced from a static context. So to explain that, we need to explain a bit about what static means. Okay?
Yeah.
So the static keyword means there is one version of that. So just as with main, we have it static because we need to be able to run that. We need to be able to say Java main, and that needs to work. We cannot have many versions of it. But when we have other methods, you can imagine a situation when you have, let's say, a main object A and a main object B, and you want them to be doing different things, don't you?
Yeah.
So they need to have different specifications for those methods. So those are the normal methods, and that is why adder will not run unless you make it either static or you create an object. So if I say that I have an object, then, okay, we will explain this line right afterwards, okay?
All
Right now,
right.
just think of it as one object of class main. So it has anything class main does, okay? Hannes, are you with me?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So now, if I do object.adder, then that is fine. If I do object.staticAdder, that is also fine.
Okay.
So that's why I prefer always creating an object of the class, so you know that everything will run correctly.
Mm.
You might remember recently that you had a lab where there was some inbuilt scanner that was misbehaving.
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
you encounter that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was because it was made static.
Okay.
Okay. So then, let's talk about this line right here. So you need to distinguish in your head that class main is different than the method main, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's just that this interpreter creates it with that name, unfortunately.
Mm.
Can I change it? I do not believe so. And you do remember that in order for a Java program to run, the name of the file needs to be the exact same as the class name, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Let's say our class. Nice. Okay. So we can take all this, rename this to our class. Also, a good idea is that whenever you make changes, test that your code is running still. So I changed everything. Oh, I didn't put the .java.
What do you mean by keeping it running when you
No,
change?
no, not keeping it running. Run it again to see that
Oh, okay.
everything that worked before works now.
All right, all right.
Like it could be something small that you forgot, or it could be something big, but the more frequently you test, the less of a chance that something will go terribly wrong.
Mm.
Let's see if we're actually running our class or something else. Our class. No, we are not. We're running main.java. So no, I cannot just create more files.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the name of the class for this will be main. Sorry for the inconvenience.
Nice, no problem.
Okay, so the new keyword means that we are creating a new object. So something that holds information inside. Okay,
Okay.
so what comes afterwards is a constructor. Have you talked about constructors in class?
No, we have not.
You have not. Because I remember some students were talking about it on their own, but I don't remember if they said that they've seen it or not.
No, the teachers, they have never spoken about it. But yeah, I had a friend help me yesterday, and he also mentioned constructor and stuff like that.
Okay. So a constructor is the function that creates the instance of your object or of your class. So when you say that you want an object main, because we do not currently have a constructor, like as you see, we don't have any extra code here. A default one is actually created by Java.
Okay.
But you could also override it. And that would be public and then the name of the class. This is not done normally. So this is a constructor. It can
Okay.
contain things, but let's see that it runs first. Yeah. If let's say, have you seen having variables? I think you have, though all of them have been static before, right?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I think every single one of them were static.
Yeah, and that's because they didn't do this step.
Okay.
So if say we have an int x and an int y. By the way, have you ever paid attention to the public keyword?
No, not really.
Not really. Have you ever seen something else?
I think there's private too.
Exactly. So there is public and then there is private. The difference between them is that if you have public, then other people, like the main method here or another class, have direct access to your variables or to whatever public is. So if I say object dot x is 5, that is fine and good, and I can actually both write to it and output it.
Okay.
Wait. Expected what? Yeah, it doesn't take commas. Yeah.
Okay.
Or rather, it wants, right? No. Like this? Wait. Now I'm kind of curious. Yes, okay. So it's public int and whatever comes next follows that. But what would change if I set that to private? Will this still work?
I don't think so.
No, it will not. Because they don't have access. No, what? Okay, that's a weird behavior. When you have the private keyword, it means that other people don't have access. It's only the object itself that has access. So say you have different methods that you asked for an explanation on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are methods? Methods are nothing more than a way for your object to interact with things. So let's say we have a width and a height. Oh. And we have an area. So let's think of this as like some parallelogram. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Then, when we create our item, we would like it to have those values. Yeah?
Yeah.
So we can just say that when you want to create our item, please provide us with 2 values. And if you want to be better at this, you should try to give as best names as possible. Right. So now you're allowed to write something along these lines, which I'm guessing is going to be a bit confusing.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. So have you ever seen this?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So remember how we said that we are creating an object of this class?
Yeah.
So this lets you point to that. So instead of changing something width, you are changing this object's width.
Okay.
And since this is that width, what is this width?
Like the, how do you say it? The general width
The parameter.
on the parameter. Okay.
Have you not talked about parameters? Or do you
Uh,
just not remember it?
no, I don't believe we have actually. You mean inside that thing,
Anything inside
the parameter?
parentheses is called the parameter.
Okay. No, I don't think we have talked about that.
But didn't you say you were to use functions now, methods in your exercise, or not?
Yeah, we had to use it. But I don't remember anything about these parameters, these things from
Okay.
the lectures.
Okay. At any rate, when you create a method, you're allowed to put in parameters. So let's say that adder has some x equals 5 and takes in a parameter that is of type int. Okay? So
Yeah.
what does that mean? That means that whenever you call adder, you need to provide one int inside parentheses.
Okay.
And let's say that it just outputs the addition of them. So adder, object.adder. Why is it capitalized? What could they put in here?
A.
A. What would that do?
That would type out the 5 plus that thing in the other.
No. And let's explain why. how do we declare a variable?
Int.
Mm-hmm. So we say what type it is, and then we give it a name, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this context, right here, remember, nothing else exists. A doesn't exist. Other
Uh,
does need some int. It doesn't care what it's going to be called. It doesn't care what value it will have. It just requires you to put in an int. And as you can see, it is declared here in order to be used in here.
Okay.
Okay. So can you tell me an int that you know? Any value that could be stored in an int.
5.
Yep, exactly. So if we run this, you can see that it will, if I, oh, yeah. After we have created our constructor, then a default one doesn't exist anymore, so we need to follow it. So we need to give it a width and a height. We will talk more about it after we realize exactly what's happening with the parameters. So as you can see, the output is 10, yes?
Yeah.
What would happen if I change this to 2?
7.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now say that I wanted this to work. Yes?
Yeah.
Can you think how this would work?
Um, you mean the main object?
No, no, no. I changed line 32
Oh,
and
A.
yeah.
Um, you need to ask the user to input an int.
Close. Much closer than before. Okay,
Uh,
what do I have in here?
it's nothing.
Exactly. It's nothing. So we want that nothing to be what?
An int.
Okay. So what will we do?
Uh, we ask the user to
We don't
type
need to
in an
ask the
int.
user. We can just do it. But
Okay.
the whole point is that we need to initialize it as an int. Yes?
Yeah. Yeah.
So will this work?
Yeah.
Yes. Because now a is actually an int and it has a value.
Mm.
If I were to change this to apples, will this work?
No, it wouldn't.
What would need to change first?
The A
2?
to apples.
Correct. So are you now starting to get how parameters work?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So just as parameters work with regular methods, like adder right here, just as well, the constructor needs sometimes its own parameters, okay?
Mm.
So when I create my object, let's say object A, with 45 and 50, then those are passed through here and there, respectively,
Yeah.
okay? Let's create a second one. Let's create an object B. Could you give me some random numbers to put in as parameters?
90 and 50.
Okay. Okay. So What will happen if I wait? Let's say public void calculate area. This area is this width times this height. And then public void print area system out print line area. Okay. So I do object b dot calculate area. And then object b dot print area. What will this do?
It will calculate the area first and then type it out.
So it will set area to this width and this height. So notice that this will only change for object B in this case. Let's change that to A so we keep in line. Yes?
Yeah.
So you can see that if we do this again for B, we will get a different result. Yeah?
Yeah.
But, and this is a big one. Let's do Control X. Okay. So now all I've changed here is that I first calculate for A, then calculate for B, and then print both of them. Okay?
Yeah.
So you see that if I run, nothing has changed for the output.
No.
No. But I come in and say that this is static. What will this do?
I think it will add both to each other, both numbers.
No. What does calculate area do?
It takes the width multiplied with the height.
And what does it do with that?
And it stores the area value in it.
It stores it in the area variable.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. We get the same result on both of them. Can you now guess what is happening?
Yeah, I think it takes the last one. And
why is that?
Because the second one, it overwrites the first one.
Yes. And why is that? Can you see it now?
Yeah, because it's static, so the other, how do you call it? They had
Only
accessibility
one
to
version exists.
Yeah.
Now, every object does not have its own area. They all share one.
Okay.
So you now understand why the main method needs to be static. Yeah?
Yeah.
Like, you need to know which one to run.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that is the gist of using the static keyword. Now let's say that you want to change those, yes?
Yeah.
Like obviously you could just create a different object, but normally we would create what we call setters and getters. Can you guess what they do?
Setters and getters. Like they get some numbers and they set it.
Mm-hmm. So they are used to manipulate private attributes, private variables, like these ones.
Okay.
So when I say public void set width, I will always expect the code inside to look something like this. Okay?
Yeah.
And subsequently, if I had a get width, it would just return. Do you know return?
Kind of. It returns the value or.
Yes. So when the function is done, the method is done, whoever ran it will get whatever is on the right of return.
Okay.
So in this instance, they will get this dot width. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so how would you write a setter for height?
It's a public void
Yes.
set height.
Mm-hmm.
Then parentheses and int height.
Perfect.
Is it this height
Yes.
that equals to height?
Exactly. So this is talking about this one, and this is talking about this one. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. And then a getter for it?
Public int get height. And then return this height.
Perfect. Okay, only one more note here. This is not required. It's just nice to have. Like it makes things clearer as to what
Okay.
is happening. So like this will work just as well.
Oh, all right. All right.
Okay. Do you feel you have a better understanding for how this works?
Yeah, I do actually.
Okay. Can you think of something more on the methods?
Not really, not at the moment.
Let's say that you want to print the area 50 times. Do you understand how to do that?
50 times.
Yeah. Okay, let me give you a more concrete example. Let's say you have all of this,
Yeah.
and your task is to create 5 parallel kilograms, and output their area in a loop. How would you go about it?
All right. Like the same numbers or different numbers on the 5 different parallelograms
Yeah.
in different heights and
Yeah.
width. Okay. At first you need to give the height and width a number.
Okay.
And then after that you do a for loop.
Mm-hmm.
And wait, how many times do we need to type it out?
No, we need to type it out once, but we need to do it for 5 objects.
Okay, 5 objects.
How would you create many objects? How would you create many ints?
Just type int and
Mm-hmm.
height.
Sure.
And then width.
Okay, no. What I meant is like, have you not talked about arrays?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah. So if you want many of them, what would you do? If you wanted
You just
many
do
ints,
you just do arrays.
how do you do arrays? Like, let's say ints.
Yeah, you do int and then the what's it called? Those square
Yes, brackets.
brackets. And then new int.
By the way, do you notice the new keyword? Yes, and then?
Yeah. New and then int and 5, right? So and then 5 inside the bracket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you could also do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I believe, unless I'm mistaken. Let's check it out. For array I. What? Yeah. So this is a more compact way of starting an array.
Okay.
Okay, so we want many what objects?
Sorry, what did you say?
What did we want 5 of? Do we want 5 ints?
No, we want 5 parallelograms.
What is the name of our class?
Our class. It's up there. Yeah, it's main.
So we will, instead of int, type main. Then we can just say array again. And then brackets. And then go with this. And now we can just do new main, say 1, 2. And suddenly we have 5 of them.
Okay, so you take the class name and then array, and inside of it type new main.
Remember, this is just a name. This can be Boo. This can be Alan. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
yeah.
It's this that denotes that this is an array. And then this that you will actually be creating it here.
Yeah.
Okay? So now I have created 5 of them. What do I need in order to later output the areas?
Do you just want to type it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so system output.
Oh, no. Remember, we have our calculate area and we have our print area. So we don't need to write them again, right?
Oh. Do you mean using the get and the set?
We don't. Hello, we're doing well. AA develops. How are you doing? We have the calculate area method, yes?
Yeah.
So how are we going to use it?
Can you scroll up again?
Yep.
You call that method.
Okay. So how?
Just type it in. Calculate.
Like that?
Yeah, and yeah, I think that should work.
That will not work. Think about a little bit why. Amazing, the online GDB editor caught my eye while I was scrolling through streams. I used this editor for compiling when I was doing C++ in school. Actually, I used it for C++ streams as well. Yeah, it is very useful for running, though Java unfortunately doesn't state which version it is running at, whereas C++ has some notation about which one it's running. Remember what we talked about before? Like, it needs to know who is calling it. There. Yeah?
Yeah.
So you can't just call it by name on its own. You need to call it on an object. Yes?
Okay, yeah.
So all of our objects are currently inside an array. Yeah?
Yeah.
And how do we specify a specific item in an array?
You type the index of it.
So we will go for all of them. So array I from 0 to 4. And then we will do calculate area.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, now it makes sense.
Okay. So what will we do in order to print out that area?
Just use system out print and then array I.
Again, remember, the system out is done by the method itself. We do not need to do that. It will
Oh,
do it.
you type array I dot print area.
See? How nice and compact?
Yeah.
Go for it. Put it in a variable. How did you mean that AA develops? Or have you never seen Java before? But yeah, so the idea is, remember, objects are a thing, and you will probably use them.
Yeah.
And then if you have your methods, use them. Like you don't need to do the same thing over and over yourself. That's why we have methods.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Now it.
unfortunately, there is no good way to share this, like the whole screen, and be able for everyone to read it. You would have put what in the variable? Oh, I'm guessing the calculate area. Yeah, it doesn't return anything. It just stores in an attribute. There. Remember that it's always good that your methods do one thing. Not 10, not 50, not 2, one thing. Okay?
Only one thing.
Yep. Like, you could say, why don't we do set height and width at once? No, please don't. Like, it creates so much more complexity that it is not worth it.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
So you still have the like main code in the main function or the main.
always.
Okay.
In Java, nothing runs unless you put it in main. Okay?
Yeah, yeah. I
Remember, that
meant like
doesn't mean. Sorry? Yeah, go.
if you have like if stuff like that.
Hmm?
Can you still put it in the method, or should it be in?
Yeah, of course. Like, just remember the definition can be outside, but you then need to run that. Yeah?
Yeah.
So I might have public void Hannes method. Yeah?
Yeah.
And it will actually check Boolean flag. And if flag, it will system out it was true. Else it was false. Like this is completely fine. But in order for this to do anything, you need to call the Hannes method.
Yeah.
Do you type your name with one N or two N's?
It's one.
Okay. It went in my head as Hannes.
Oh.
But yeah, I cannot do just Hannes method and say true. Why?
Because I mean, you already have everything in that method, like if flag, and this one it's nothing.
Yeah, it's true it doesn't contain anything that is needed, but can I run this?
I think it will still run.
It will not.
Will not.
Nope. Error, non-static method, Hannes method, cannot be referenced from a static context. What does that tell you?
Static context.
Java is not my first language. I started programming with learning Python, then I learned HTML, CSS, and a little bit of JavaScript. Then I moved on to learning a little bit of Java, but did not learn too advanced things. Then with this school year, I learned C++, and now I am learning some C#, so I can experiment with game development. Oh, cool. Actually, I will be streaming some JavaScript either later today or failing that later in the week. So if you're into that, be sure to follow. Yes. Thanks for the follow. You need to put static in front of public in the yes. Yes and no. So, Hannes, do you now remember?
No, not really.
Okay. So, we are in a static method in main, yes?
Yeah.
So, in order to call on a method that is not static itself, we need to do what? Why can we run calculate area? We can only run calculate area and print area because we are doing that under an object of our class.
Oh, yeah. And the Hannes method has no object.
So we need to go like array and 0, and that is fine. We can say array 1, we can say array 2, we can say whatever we want. It will run just fine. Let me make this yes, there we go. So even if I change this to 4, that is completely fine. Yeah?
Yeah.
If I change this to false,
Okay.
and vice versa, just as AA develops said before, if we just put static keyword here, that will also just work.
Okay.
So you need to pick your poison sometimes.
Yeah.
If it's something that doesn't make use of anything, of attributes, of variables, then it's fine to make it static. You do not need several versions of it. If it's something that does change or changes behavior or whatever, do not make it static. Does he know what static? Yes, we explained them just before. Void is a bit different, but yeah, we should talk about return types. Maybe this will help. Do you understand why we say void here and int here?
Yeah, the void doesn't return anything.
Whereas the int means that
It does.
return a what?
An int.
Exactly. If I had said string here, it would mean it returns a
This string.
But yeah. So a little bit of a getting everything together here. Public and private. Do we have them a bit more clear in our heads now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Return types, what we just said.
Yeah, was good.
Static and non-static.
Static and non-static. Yeah, kind of.
Kind of.
Oh wait, static was the one with you had to put something in front of the method when you call it, right?
So, if you want to just call a method of your class from main, then it needs to be static, yes.
Okay.
Exactly. Static just means that the function is part of the class. If you do not put static, then you cannot use it within main. If you do not put static, it is a part of your class still. It's just part of whatever instance of it you make.
Okay.
So that is why we can still use calculate area and print area, like it's no problem. And just as well, when we didn't have the static in front of Hanni's method, we just needed any object to make it work. Like it doesn't need to be something specific. We could even have a throwaway object. We could go fancy and be like new main, some random object. And this will work, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. It's very bad, don't do it, but this will work. This basically creates an object. Yeah? Everyone with?
Yeah.
Yeah, it creates an object, uses it to run the method, and then throws the object away.
Okay.
It is a messy one line. It's good to know, it's good to understand why it works, but it's also good to understand why not to use it.
Yeah, yeah.
Trying to think about your labs and what we could see more specifically. Oh, by the way, AA develops. If you don't mind, where do you study? So let's say we start again, and you're trying to run Hanni's method, and you see that it doesn't work. What do you need to do? Another one
I need
from
to put
Canada. You need to?
put an object in front of it.
Correct. How do we create an object?
It was new. I've forgotten. It's like main. Yeah, like that.
So again, think of it exactly as you would with an int. Yeah? So type, in this case, our class, variable name
Okay.
equals new, and then it's the constructor. So it's just the name again, and then the parameters that are needed. That's it.
Okay. Okay.
So after we have created it, what do we need to do?
You type main, the 1 3 in front of Hanni's method.
Remember, we have created A.
Oh, it's a dot Hanni's method.
So it was true. Do you have any specific question in mind now, Hannes?
Actually, I don't have. This was a good live stream. It helped me like get a clearer picture
I'm
of
glad you liked
how
it.
method works and
I'm
how
thinking
studying
about
works.
Yeah, I'm thinking about posting a link when I'm going live, but on the other hand, I don't know if that's considered spam, and I don't want to spam your server with something like that.
Oh, I mean, I think it's good if you do that actually. But then maybe you could post it in Studiefrågor
Huh.
or
Yeah, maybe.
stream info. Wait, there's a
Stream
stream
info
info
is
as well.
locked. That is locked.
Yeah, but if you talk to
Yeah, maybe I should
server
send to
owner,
Mohammed.
he could give you permission to do that.
Yeah.
This is actually really helpful.
Yeah. I mean, we can just send the VOD afterwards
Yeah, we can do
in
that.
case anyone finds it interesting.
Yeah.
AA develops. Do you have any questions? Not as of right now. Learned some new things today. Nice. Funny thing is, there was another person from Canada a couple of streams ago. I don't believe it was you. I'm sorry if I am misremembering, but I do not believe it was you.
Do you stream often?
I try to do it twice a week, but
Okay.
things pop up, like I'm currently in my master's.
Oh, okay.
Well, hopefully not the last.
Actually, I think I'm gonna follow you for the future. If that's okay with you.
Yeah, thank you. Of course.
I mean,
Like the idea today. Do you know the interaction design program at school?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So as you know, like they do have some programming.
Oh, they do.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I have a few friends there. So I was trying to teach them some better JavaScript. So we have already done one live stream, and we were to do a second one today. But
Okay.
the person supposedly taking the lesson has had some trouble today.
Oh, I see. I see. What were you gonna go? I mean, what were you gonna teach about Java?
JavaScript.
JavaScript. Okay, like the
Remember?
basics. Or...
Yeah, we're going over the basics and then going into deeper and deeper detail because they are trying, like, okay, you don't have any context as to how this lesson was done before, but like, imagine just being asked to use all of these things without someone explaining to you why everything works as it does.
Okay.
And then JavaScript is a lot more abstract, which makes it a lot more complicated. You can ask AA Develops for that. AA Develops, when did you learn JavaScript? What languages did you know before JavaScript? I guess Python is kind of close if that was the only experience you had before. So you know how before you declare anything, you say what type of variable you're creating, Hannes?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in Python and JavaScript, you just say, I want a variable.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't matter if it's a number, it doesn't matter if it's a string, it doesn't matter if it's a freaking function. I'm not
Damn,
joking.
that sounds nice.
Sure. If you know why and what is happening.
Yeah.